Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let's take a look at what goes on when you try to install many third-party apps. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So I've noticed that many new Mac users, and some longtime Mac users that may not have run into this before, are a little confused about what happens when you try to install a third-party app that you've downloaded from the web, not from the App Store. So as an example here, let's look at a couple browsers. Here's the download page for Google Chrome. Say you want to add this as a second browser on your Mac. So you click the download button here, and then when you allow downloads, it begins the download. If I look here under downloads, it shows that it's complete, and I can even use this little magnifying glass to go to it. When I do so, it opens up the downloads folder, and here, sure enough, is what was downloaded. What you've got here is a file with a .dmg extension. If you double click on it, it seems to open this file up, and you get a window that looks like this. Each app seems to have a different kind of look to it, but the general idea is you get this window that opens. You see the app that you want to install, the one you downloaded, and then you see this folder here with an A on it. This, if you notice, looks just like your applications folder. And if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, you'll notice this little curved arrow there. And then usually there's an arrow pointing from the app to this folder. So let's break this down. The file that you downloaded is actually a disk image. That's what the DMG stands for. A disk image is a compressed file that when you open it, acts like it's an external hard drive. And sure enough, if you look here in the Finder, you could see it listed under Locations. There it is. In this case, there's a little external hard drive called Google Chrome. So what it's done is it's mounted this hard drive that's not really a hard drive. It's actually a file. And it's giving you access to what's inside. And what's inside is a single file, this application here, and an arrow and this representation of your applications folder. Now, a lot of people make a mistake at this point, and they will simply double click on the file and it will run the app. But what it's actually doing is it's running the app from this kind of fake external drive that's really a disk image. You haven't actually installed it on your Mac. Sometimes this is actually good for previewing an app, but other times the app will simply refuse to run, saying it needs to be placed in the applications folder first. Either way, you really should move it out of this disk image into the applications folder. And that's in fact what this little representation of your applications folder is doing. It's giving you an easy way to get to the applications folder. If you actually select this, you'll find it's a normal icon, sometimes with a name, sometimes without. You can see this just has a blank name here. And then if I go to File and then Get Info, you could see here under Info, it's of kind Alias. What that means is it's basically this link to the actual folder, not the folder itself. So sure enough, if I were to just double click on this, it would open up my applications folder. It's the same place I would get to if I went in the Finder here and either used the little application shortcut here on the left under Favorites or go Applications. You get to the same place. Now what it's doing here inside this disk image is it's giving you an easy way to move this application to your applications folder. Now I could simply drag and drop it into my applications folder like that, but that would entail having to open up another Finder window, go to the applications folder, and then do the drag. This is trying to save you some steps. If you drag from here to here, it does the same thing. It would actually place the file in your applications folder using this shortcut or alias to the applications folder to make it easy for you. So once you've done that, once you've dragged this application to this representation of the applications folder, it might take a few seconds or even a minute to actually bring the entire file over to make a copy of it in your applications folder. At that point, what you should do is close this window here and in the Finder, find under Locations this disk image and simply eject it by clicking the button there. Once it's ejected and you've installed this file, you can now go to your Downloads folder and there's that disk image and you can get rid of this file. You don't need it anymore. You've taken the only thing that was actually in it and correctly installed it in your applications folder. So you can just drag this to the trash and now it's in the trash, and the next time you empty the trash it will delete that. Or in the Finder you could go to Finder an empty trash to do that right now. Here's another example, another browser, the Firefox browser. So if I click download, then it's going to start downloading this file and we'll put it in my downloads folder or wherever you've set your default download location for Safari to be. And once that's done, you can go to your downloads folder and same thing here. If you double click on it, it's going to mount this drive and you can see it now listed under locations. This one's just called Firefox. And in this case, the developers have chosen to give it a dark background, to put some text back here. There's the app itself. They even put a little separate label down below. And here's their link to the applications folder. They did a cute little curvy arrow too instead of just a straight one. But the action for you is the same. You don't run it here. You drag and drop and then it will copy this file to the applications folder. Then you can close this. You can eject that drive and you can throw away that disk image. And here's a third example. This is the popular text editing tool BB Edit. We can download it like this and then it's going to download here. And when it's done, you can go to it. There's another disk image. Double click to open and now you've got the application here. You've got the representation of the application folder. You've got the arrow, all the standard things. In this case, they give you a little bit more instruction, so it's a little more obvious what to do. Just drag this to here and it places a copy of the app in your applications folder. So I think one of the reasons people are confused about this is because it seems like you might need to do more to install an app. And sometimes you do. Sometimes you get apps that have a full installer that walk you through step by step and they may install the application in the applications folder and may actually install additional components as well. Most modern apps today don't need anything except the application itself. There aren't additional components that need to be installed in the library or anything like that. That's why this very simple installation process is possible. But in fact, even 2 decades ago, this was a popular installation option for a lot of Mac apps. So I hope you found this useful, or at least it answers a question that you may have been curious about. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.